Hello and welcome to another Math with Miss B video. In this video, we are looking at subtracting linear expressions. So we will apply the properties of operations as strategies to subtract linear, or we could say algebraic expressions with rational coefficients. So in a previous video, we looked at collecting like terms, and when we collected like terms, we simply lined up our same terms together. So the 3x went with the negative 5x, and the 2 went with the 1. And so we would combine these and say 3x minus 5x. We can't take 5 away from 3, so we'd change this into its adding the opposite. So 3 plus negative 5, different signs tell me to subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2x. I have more negatives, so it's a negative 2x. And 2 plus 1 is 3. And then we also looked at adding linear expressions, and this was the same idea. It's just we set everything up slightly differently. So we used what's called the stacking method, and we would take the 4m and stack it under the 6m. And we'd take the minus 2 and stack it under the 1 and say negative 6m plus 4m. Those are different signs. It tells me to subtract. I get a 2m. I have more negatives, so it's a negative 2m. Positive 1, negative 2. These are different signs. I subtract and get a 1. I have more negatives, so I'd put a negative. Okay, so that's what we did in 2 previous videos. The links will be below if you need to review. So in this video, rather than having an addition between our 2 sets of parentheses, we will have a subtraction. Okay, so there's 4 steps we're going to go through. The first is that we need to place a 1 besides the subtract symbol between the 2 parentheses. So we're going to introduce a 1 right here between our 2 sets of parentheses. Then we need to think of the 1 as the minus 1 as really a negative 1 so that we can distribute it to each thing in the second set of parentheses. So negative 1 times 4x is negative 4x, and negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. And then we're going to use our same adding like terms. You can line them up side by side or use the stacking method, which I do prefer. So 7x minus 4x is 3x, and 9 minus 2 is 7. Okay, so this will be the same concept. We'll introduce a 1 beside our subtract. We'll think of it as a negative and distribute, and then we'll stack and combine. So let's look at some more examples. So this first example, we want to introduce our 1 beside our subtract symbol. We're going to think about it as a negative 1 and distribute it to everything in the second set of parentheses. So negative 1x times 4 is a negative 4x. Negative 1 times 6 is a negative 6. We're going to stack them under their appropriate like terms. 9 minus 4 is 5x. Positive 2 and a negative 6, those are different signs. We subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4. I have more negatives, so it will be 5x minus 4 is my final answer. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have 5x plus 7 minus negative 2x plus 6. I'm going to put my 1 in. Think about it as a negative 1 and distribute. Now, a lot of times I will skip the step of writing my distributive property off to the side and automatically go ahead and stack it. And that's what I'm going to do in this example. So negative 1 times negative 2 is a positive 2x. Negative 1 times positive 6 is a negative 6. This 2 is positive, so I'm going to put a plus. 5x plus 2, 7x. 7 minus 6 is a positive 1. So my final answer is 7 plus 1. Okay. We've got 2 more examples to look at. Okay, like the others, I'm going to drop in my 1 right here after the subtract and think of this as a -1 and distribute it. So -1 times -4 is a positive 4x. -1 times positive 6 is a -6. 9 plus 4 is 13x. Positive 2 minus 6, those are different signs. We're going to subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4, and I have more negatives, and I end up with 13x minus 4. Now, our last example I want to introduce already has a number where we've been adding the 1. So in this case, we do not add a 1. We just think of this as a -3, and we distribute it. So -3 times -2 is a positive 6x. And -3 times positive 6 is a -18. So 5x plus 6x is 11x. Positive 7, -18, those are different signs. I subtract. 18 minus 7 is 11. I have more negatives, so it's -11. And that is how we solve linear expressions that have subtraction in between 2 sets of parentheses. If you had trouble with the distributive property part of this, I encourage you to watch my distributive property video, which will also be linked in the description below. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good afternoon.